This is my first podcast, and then I got something to come back with.
Did you hit record? Oh my God.
All right, yeah, so we can edit that.
I can't believe you missed that. So wait,
missed all
hold
that.
on a second. We're starting.
Okay.
So you just walked in here. Welcome, first of all. This is our first podcast for Socially Wild.
First podcast.
I don't even know what we're going to call it yet.
All right, so I want to say first podcast. Let's say hope it blows up and goes viral.
I
want to say
does.
that Mark chose me to be on his first podcast.
Well, there was a reason why I chose you.
Which is really cool. I want to say thank you, but the truth of the matter is I might be his only real friend. So, I mean, I don't think he had a lot of choices.
You're my only real friend.
I don't think he had a lot of choices. So,
if you're my only real friend, I'm in major fucking trouble. Major trouble.
be true.
But
might be true.
So this is our first podcast. We really don't know what the fuck we're doing. I got Matt in the control room, crazy Matt, and we did a bunch of testing. So hopefully this works. But
Hopefully
welcome,
he's actually recording.
Welcome to the first Socially Wild podcast. Now, what I will, we're going to start off with your background and all that stuff. But you came in here hot. Mm-hmm. And you told me you ran into an old friend. Who'd you run into?
All right, so an old friend just texted me out of the blue. A guy named Ethan. Some of us all know who he is that are in our circle. And he said he's literally sitting in Florida right now. And he sends me a picture of them spraying the sky.
First of all, picture or picture?
Picture of them spraying the sky.
Okay. So explain for the audience exactly what spraying the sky is, because most people don't really understand what spraying the sky is, but it's been a topic of conversation with our group. Before we go into the history of our group and all that stuff, explain to me spraying the sky.
Well, I mean, sky spraying started probably like in the early 50s.
Okay.
And it started out as a geoengineering aspect of like helping to help farmers grow things and supposedly
like
help
crops,
the soil. Like for
crop
crops.
spraying.
Yeah, so they were like spraying the sky with things that would come down and help the soil. It started out just like that. Now people claim that they're spraying the sky with reflectives so that we can reflect the sun, but that's hurting our soil. And they've actually proven now, farmers that have actually taken soil samples, the amount of metals in our soil right now are like 100 times.
And this is strictly because of spraying the sky.
Well, they're saying how else did the soil change that drastically in numerous areas across the country?
So, and you believe this? You
100%
believe this?
It's one logical conclusion to extrapolating on the fact that areas in multiple states have this same problem with metals in their soil. How is it possible other than...
But why would they be spraying the sky? Because of agricultural reasons?
No, they're saying that...
Or they're trying to like hurt
under
us.
the guise of climate control. They're saying that they're trying to reflect the heat from the sun and carbon, and it goes... That's their... But
they're not trying to hurt the population. They're trying to save the planet. Listen, our whole group is trying to figure out the whole spray the sky thing.
Well, let's start out with the whole group denying that sky spraying ever even really happened.
I don't think it is.
Well,
I think crop spraying may.
Listen, it's very simple.
Okay.
Go to the NOAA website. It's a government website. Okay. Everybody likes to believe in government websites.
Yeah.
There's literally forms you have to fill out if you're a company in this country
if you're
that wants to spray the sky. You have to fill out these forms and file it with NOAA, a government agency.
Okay.
So if they have that, how is sky spraying not real? Secondly, you literally have legislation being passed in numerous states now saying you're not allowed to spray the sky over our state. So if sky spraying is not real, then legislators are passing bills that are irrelevant. And NOAA, a government agency, has forms you could fill out for absolutely no reason whatsoever. It's clearly happening.
So like in the group chat that we have, and we have a large group chat,
of misinformed people or uninformed people.
We have several group chats. But my question to you is, they sent a picture of a plane, like a jet airplane with their fumes. And you call
that's a different
scenario.
So
that's not what you're calling spraying the sky.
That's a different scenario.
What scenario is that?
And if we were going to discuss this, I would have actually brought you pictures to show I mean, that's totally different. I mean...
So basically, and again, for the audience, you bring a lot of conspiracy theories, which, by the way, I have to tell you, back in the day, these, conspiracy theories were like, they were like fringe. Now, I think they're kind of coming to the forefront as like reality. Well, so I will give you some credit in that area that In fact, I was just watching a Joe Rogan podcast
And Ian
yesterday.
Carroll?
Yes.
Yeah,
I watched that.
I was just ready to say, we're not Joe Rogan and Ian Carroll.
No,
But
I get it. I get it. But by the way, Ian Carroll is also
amazing.
He's
amazing. He should get a Pulitzer someday.
Wait, hold on. Let's step it back a second. I agree with a lot of stuff he says, but he's just on that edge of going a little too far.
All right, well,
he's on the George edge.
Well, that's David Ikes who says everybody's a reptile. That's like taking it a little bit over the edge.
I mean, I think he does it because
and you're not saying that about Ian, and I just want to be straight so we have it on camera.
It's interesting that
you're not saying it on Ian just because of his take on the state of Israel, are you?
No.
Because I know a lot of Jewish people have a problem with thinking anything negative about Israel.
But he was saying something about 9/11, and yesterday.
The stuff he said about 9/11.
I missed it actually. That was like one part where I ran out of the room.
Okay, so
what was he saying about 9/11?
So let's just back up for a second. Okay. Let's go back to the 50s. Back in the 50s, you have to look at everything historically, right? So, example, Syria. Syria's what kind of nation to you? What is it known as? Well, like who's the primary population?
Middle East.
What's your primary population? Arab, Muslim, right?
Muslim.
Okay, that's what you know it as, right?
Yes.
Well, you know as early as 1955, 57.
But there are a lot of Syrian Jews.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh no. But do you know as 55, 57? Do you know who the majority population was in Syria?
No.
Christians.
Okay.
It was a Christian country.
Okay.
They allowed in the Muslims with open arms.
Okay.
And said, come, work with us, be with us. Then they said, you can hold positions in government with us. And then, as they got positions in government, they overpopulated. Yeah. And then they literally started killing the very people that invited them into their country. Yeah. Okay? So now, go back to the 50s on reporting. Back in the 50s, when people were reporting things, reporters were really out there trying to get the truth out.
Okay.
They were doing investigations. They were trying to find stuff out. Matter of fact, the one guy that was reporting the truth.
Matter of fact.
The one guy reporting the truth, I think his last name was Woodward, Bob Woodward, was literally assassinated when he was trying to write the truth about Watergate.
Yeah.
And now...
Yes, I understand that whole thing. In fact, Ian was talking about that.
So fast forward to Ian Carroll talking about that, and the guy Medley that he brought up, he even said it was around World War I that they realized that they have this power. Yeah. So the one thing I like about Ian Carroll is...
I liked a lot about Ian Carroll.
The one thing he does is he's an OSNIT reporter. So what that is it's an open source intelligence reporter.
Yes.
Okay? So that means when he says something to you, he even said yesterday in his Rogan
interview,
he said, I'm not telling people how to think. I'm giving them enough information to say we should question. We can't just take what's given to us.
That's the one thing that I think that's the one takeaway that I really got, and I get from those like the Lex Friedman, the Joe Rogans. The takeaway is that we really need to think for ourselves, and I don't think a lot of the population, in fact, in the community that I live, there are a lot of people that cannot think for themselves. And I think to that extent, I agree with him and you and all of that. But getting back to the spraying the sky thing, I think it's a little out there, but I wanted to give you a chance to kind of clarify exactly what you meant by spraying the sky. Yeah. What I really want to do is actually, if we could, because I don't want to get into too many conspiracy. We'll get back to the conspiracy. This is really about our group, about our poker show, and really at least the initial goals of the podcast is really for the fans to kind of get to know the players, because they see us every week, but they only see us at the table, and they don't really get an idea of who you really are as a person. So my first objective really when I started this podcast was to kind of find out who Loud George is. Obviously, your name's not Loud George, it's George. But how'd you get into poker? I wanted to kind of start, set the stage.
How you get into poker?
How did you personally get into poker? Me
personally?
Yeah.
The family get-together card games, usually around Christmas time and Easter, and the family gets together and they would play their nickel-dime games and just watching the men play while the women cooked and, learning that, like in our day, it was like, I remember I bet one buff. That was what? One buff. I bet one buff.
What's that?
A buff was a nickel. because they used to be Buffalo head nickels that they actually had.
Okay.
So I bet one buff, and then they raised to 10 cents, and that's how I grew up watching poker. And then I was like probably by 12 better than my dad at poker. So I figured I could win a couple of quarters. Let me play with my nickels and dimes. So that's how I got started. And the rest is history.
And then kind of walk us through how you fell into this group. And I don't think anybody has the background on exactly how the group formed. I know how I came into the group and how everything kind of coalesced around a couple of games. But it's a fairly large group that we have.
You know, I got to say, I was thinking about this just literally the other day.
Yeah.
So I was talking to another guy in our group, Artie, and I said, and I was thinking about when this started, we used to have our own little home game with a bunch of guys that I grew up with, where we were playing our 25-cent, 50-cent games. And one of those guys was crazy enough back in the day to put an ad on Craigslist because we were looking for more players.
Oh, my God.
And he put an ad on Craigslist looking for players where I used to have my office in Smithtown.
Yeah.
And along came Justin Harrow.
I got to find, wait, before you say that, just remind me, I have a story about your office. Was it upstairs?
It was an upstairs.
I got to tell you a very, very interesting story. Just remind me. Go on.
Okay. Along comes Justin Harrow.
This is years ago.
Okay. I mean, he's just a kid. He's like probably like not even.
He was
barely
probably
20.
he was in
like
college.
19, 20. Yeah, he was like at college.
It had to be.
And he responded to my friend's ad. And my friend's like, "Oh, we're playing." And we're like, "Dude, what do you mean you're inviting strangers to the game? We don't know this kid. We don't know who they are."
So wait, Justin came off.
He came over off Craigslist as a stranger to our game.
Shit.
He was like, "Oh wow, no rate game. You know, we don't do any breaking or anything, right?" So it was just a home game. So he comes and plays, and then he says to me, "Oh, I play a game with my friend Schultz."
Huh.
I wind up playing in Schultz's house for, I don't know, a couple of years or whatever.
Interesting.
And through that group...
Well, not through that group. I actually came in. You found me through Schultz.
I found you through Schultz because that's when the Schultz game was breaking. The Schultz game was starting to break because they were no longer having the game there.
Right.
He somehow, I don't know how he knows you, actually. Well, so that's how I wound up here.
It's a crazy story. I mean...
That's how I wound up here. Because through Schultz, we're playing at this guy Mark's house.
Yeah.
Right? And then I wound up here. Then I bring in Kevin because in two other games that I'm in.
White Kevin?
Yes, I brought White Kevin to our game. Because in one of the other two games I was playing, they had a different type of game. And then I was like, "Oh, you should play." I bring him to Brody's house.
Ugh.
And it wound up him and Brody used to play tennis in the same league together. So the world is so small, man. We're all like 1 or 2 degrees away from each other.
No, it's really, really small. In fact, quick story about your office. I don't know how I ended up. This is even before I even knew you or met you. I don't know how I got invited, but I got invited. And it was very early on. We were playing in your office upstairs. I remember upstairs that just basically.
I didn't even know you played that. I don't even remember that.
Not only that, it's the first time I ever in my entire life hitting quads. I had quad 8s.
Oh, wow.
And I
went. Who was that against?
I don't remember who it was against.
That's crazy. I didn't even remember you
played that. But I got all in. It was a bad
above the Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
I don't remember you playing that. That's
right near like.
Is it possible through Harrow?
It's possible through anything. I mean, I really don't remember how I got. I do remember how I got to Schultz. So I don't know. Do you remember Mitch Schumann? Do you remember Mitch Schumann's mother?
No.
Very, very older woman. Yeah. So Mitch used to live in the community, and we played poker, just bullshit poker. Yeah. And he invited me. He actually was going in. I think Brendan actually tells it differently, but Brendan and Mitch Schumann actually met while he was getting coffee at a Starbucks because Brendan worked at Starbucks.
That's funny.
And that's a whole other story for the podcast. But anyway, Brendan worked at the Starbucks, and Mitch became friends with him because he was coming in and getting coffee, and then wound up, Brendan invited Mitch to the game, to his father's game. And then Mitch invited me to Brendan's father's game.
That's funny. At the time he was working at Starbucks, so was my nephew.
Oh, is that right?
He got the job.
You know what's so interesting? I used to go to Brendan's house to play in his father's game. I don't know if you remember.
I played with you there a couple of times.
He had Dobermans or like Rottweilers. Dobermans
dogs,
or Rottweilers or both. I know he had 2 big dogs, and I would have to come through the garage or the front door. Typically, I think it was the garage. Anyway, come through the garage, and I'm not afraid of dogs, but these fucking dogs would literally like walk you through to get into the basement. I was like, please don't fucking
They were friendly
bite me.
as
Please
heck.
don't
They would
fucking
jump
bite me.
all over you or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was funny. It's true.
Yeah, that was great. So all right, so you got into this game, which has been going on for
I can't believe it, dude.
I mean, it started in Plainview.
Well, listen, Brennan's like, it's got to be over 18 years.
Well, Brendan's brother, Garrett, who's affectionately known as Starbucks.
Yeah.
Garrett, I remember playing at Brendan's house.
He was like in college.
He was in college.
Yeah, 17, 18 years old.
And now he's got a baby.
Right.
So it's
17,
been a long
18
time.
years old to now 30. It's 15 years.
Well,
17?
we've been playing I've been playing in the Plainview / Israel, whatever that was. And the original, the OGs of that game are no longer.
Right.
I mean, we met them when, unfortunately, the passing of Bruce's parents. I met a lot of the OGs
Bruce.
at the funeral.
Wow.
But I didn't even know who they were. But a lot of the guys knew who they were, and there's been so many people that have come and gone from the game, and it's just natural.
Right.
But like Ethan used to be a regular in the game. Bruce used to be a regular in the game. Why do you like? I mean, I kind of know, but tell the audience. I mean, it's hard to. There's so much competition out there. Number one, and we run a no-rake game, which is insane.
Right, which you don't hear of in these days.
It doesn't happen.
Right, because we have a home.
Home games are like. Yeah, I went out to LA. The home games in LA were like crazy rake.
Yeah,
like insanity.
And I got to be honest with you. I have a take on that. I think all the poker players are absolutely insane to play those games. I think they should literally not allow those games to go without negotiating what they're going to pay them. Why are you helping these guys get rich for no reason? It's our money, and I think that we give away way too much money to the whole.
Well, we've had this discussion. That could be a whole other podcast. But I know. George. I know you want to cap just about everything.
It should be.
But listen,
professional engineers don't make what some dealers make.
Yeah.
No engineer. I could pay an engineer $500 a day for an 8-hour job. You know, there's a point where there's value for the skill set you bring.
Right.
And it's not just the dealers that I'm attacking. It's the whole environment.
There's definitely a lot of money that's taken out of the game. But I definitely think, I mean, we started, when we started playing, we were self-dealing on a kitchen table.
Right, of course.
I mean, remember, I don't know if you remember.
Shuffling 2 decks.
Shuffling, we changed. What a pain in the ass. I mean, now that a lot of us are making some income. And
we're at the point where we're paying for the convenience.
Yes.
That's what we're paying
I mean, we went from hand shuffling to casino grade shufflers,
exactly.
with dealers,
exactly.
So
you investing in a professional camera system,
in a complete studio, which is that'll be another podcast. That's complete insanity and stupidity, quite frankly. But if anybody's out there trying to start their own poker live stream, don't fucking do it.
Consultations are available for a very high fee.
So years ago, you started in this group, and it's evolved. I mean, so many people have come and gone, and it's really a good way of actually, it's a piece that I find a lot of my friends outside the poker nest, they're missing that camaraderie. I mean, instead of going to the bar, instead of going to the poker table, they're going to the bar and getting plastered and doing all kinds. The funny thing is, we get a lot of people that troll us on the TV saying, "Oh, you guys hate your wives." I think it's the opposite. I think the wives, what I've found is that the wives actually appreciate the fact that we have a hobby, especially when our kids leave the nest.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know how your wife feels. Because you're out
listen,
of the
my wife has a love-hate relationship with it. I've won tournaments.
Well, she's religious also.
That's true.
She probably doesn't believe in gambling.
I've literally won tournaments that has taken us to the Bahamas, and nice trips and, money along the way. And she still doesn't like the fact that, it takes you out to like 2 a.m, 3 a.m, 1 a.m. a lot. But at the same time, she knows where I am. She knows what I'm doing.
Right.
And at the same time, she has her own little things she gets to do in that time. So she still would she prefer me never to play? Yeah, but then I'm going to drive you crazy because what am I doing with my time?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to sit there and watch reality TV. I'm not giving any names, but I'm not going to watch reality TV all day with you. So I want to do something too while you're enjoying your show. So she's learned to understand that's the package. You know, it comes with it. She'd prefer it not to be as long as it is because you got to think about it. What you were just saying. You know, we probably spend. I'll tell you just from last year's hours. It was a part-time job.
Yeah.
It averaged 20 hours a week. Considering there are many weeks I don't play at all because you got things going on, you're on vacation, your work, but it averages 20 hours a week.
It's crazy. I
so
spend
we
more
have a
time with
part-time
you.
job.
I spend more time with you than I do most human beings.
Right. And when your kids are out of the house, we wind up spending more time with each other than we do with our own kids because they're out of college, they're working jobs, they've already left the nest.
Which is so interesting because like we know each other so well, but we don't know each other at all. If you really think about it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. You know what? I said this to Arthur.
Which I think this is like, I think the point of the podcast, not really sure yet what it's going to be, but we really don't know each other because we sit at the table for hours and we talk sports and poker hands and all that, but we don't get to really know each other.
It's funny. I said to Arthur, because he belongs to another group where literally their association outside of the 4 or 5 hours they play together is like zero, right? He said what he liked when I brought him into this group. He's like, you guys go out to dinner together.
Yeah, we do that.
You guys do associate. Some guys travel together.
Yeah.
We do certain things. And I said to him, I said, even that, I said, how well do I really know so-and-so?
Yeah.
Or how well does so-and-so know me? Now, you know, we've done a couple things. We've been out on our friend's yacht and we socialized for a couple hours with the wives, right?
Yep.
We've been to parties. You've been to my daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
You know,
which was phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you. I wish I could have had everybody at the wedding. It was just, you know, I was limited to size. I had to you know, I had to make, those are tough decisions when you get to those things because it's really hard. There were a couple people I really wish I could have invited, but we were so strapped on numbers, you know. But how well do you still know them? Yeah, you break bread. Yeah, you go and do a function together. Yeah, you travel to the WSOP together, right? But deep down, like, how many people can tell you the name of your granddaughters?
Yeah, no, you're right.
For example, I have two. Right?
No, I don't know.
No, well, I know.
But I know you have grandchildren.
I know you know I have
but
two.
I don't know their names.
Right, but that's
I don't know my own kids' names.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, how well do you know? And you know what?
I mean, White Kevin has grandchildren.
Yeah,
I don't know their names.
But here's
I'm a bad example because I don't know anybody.
Listen, as I got to this age, I'm lucky I can remember people's names, and I've been having problems looking at somebody I know for 20 years, and I'm going through. What's his name again?
Yeah.
And I'm being told that's normal, but I'm like, no, to me, I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know this guy for 20 years and I drew a blank on his name for like 10 seconds, you know? So I guess as you get older, it gets crazier. But when you say, well, it comes down to in life, I think you have circles of friends.
Yes.
You have acquaintances, right? And then you're going to have that tight circle that like intricately, you know, you just know everything about them. That, like, I have a buddy since 7th grade. You know, our kids have traveled together. We've traveled as families together. How many of those do you have time for in your life? It's not that you don't care for everybody else. It's that how much time do you have to like have that close knit? You know what I'm saying?
What's so interesting is like I have a 50th birthday party tonight, and there's not one person I'm gonna know from poker there. So I have I have a hockey group of guys. I have a poker group of guys. And then I have the community. We have guys in the community that I'm friends with, and I have so many different groups. It's and none of them seem to really crisscross. Because if you're not into poker, you're like, you know, it's
you're clueless on that.
Yeah,
it's or hockey, for example, like what would you have in common with someone that plays hockey if you don't know anything about hockey?
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's the same thing. Like I play basketball with a group of guys.
So do you still play basketball? Because I know you used to play basketball.
I haven't for the past year because of the knee, but yeah, I mean the same group of guys. But again, people come, people go. I'm looking at. I started playing basketball with these guys at 16. Yeah. And how many have died since then?
Oh, really?
Because I'm 55. I'll be 55 in May.
That's young.
No, I'll be 55 in May, but some of these guys are in their 30s and 40s when I started playing with them. And to think that they're not here, you start really seeing how quick life goes, man.
It goes really fast. That's part of the whole poker scene. I mean, I get such a thrill out of playing. And, going into a night where you're playing poker, I get so much adrenaline, and I know there's so many ups and downs in the poker game.
For sure.
And I exhibit it. I'm very emotional. Everybody knows that. How do you separate, because here's the truth. I want to fucking kill you during the game.
Of course.
And some of the shit that you say, I want to punch you in the face. And I know people want to punch me in the face. But off the table, I think almost every single one of us are really great guys. Yeah. And I'm notorious for wishing death on people in the game. And I actually do mean it for that split second. I actually do mean, I really hope you die. I hope you hit a tree on the way home. But in all...
One day you're going to feel really bad about that statement.
Well, it unfortunately will happen one day, but hopefully it doesn't happen to anybody. But in all seriousness, we say a lot of shit at the table. How do you separate that anger you separate it from when the game's
it's an
over?
interesting topic because I'm going to tell you part of my problem, and that's why this year I had made it my goal to find 2 or more poker groups to also spread my playing around.
To spread your money around?
I'm going to tell you because over the years there's something that leads into that's very interesting, and I've said it takes away my competitive edge. An example of this is I start playing poker with guys I don't know. I don't give a damn. I want to take every dollar. I want to send you home without your car keys in an Uber. Okay, I want everything, right? I got the kill instinct. Problem is, here we are playing together 18 years.
Yeah.
You do start knowing people personally.
Yeah, but you don't...
You know some of their situations.
You don't separate the two?
I do want to win, but here's my problem. Like last night, you
got to tell me about last night, by the way.
But I river the top boat on somebody, and I'm actually...
On Rayford?
No. I river top boat on Sauner.
Okay.
And I called him after I checked the river, and he only bet... And I just called because
I'm never doing that.
No, he was already having a rough night. I didn't give a damn about having quads.
Right.
I knew he didn't have quads. I knew he was having a rough night, and I called his $325 bet, and I did a little bit of a slow roll to earn my not raising you.
Right.
Showed I missed the nut flush. So I flopped top set.
You slow rolled him
with the nut flush. I said,
but you didn't bet. You slow rolled him, but you didn't bet.
He bet 325. I was like, look at this.
Did you re-raise him?
And no. I'll tell you what I did. I said, I missed the nut flush, and then I grabbed my chips, and I called. But I did river the top boat, and I put my chips in and rolled it over. And he just looked at me. Yeah. He's like, I would have called anything you bet because I rivered 8s full of 9s. I was like, you're so full of it. You missed your flush. I gave you an opportunity to bet.
He gets angry about it.
I said, I gave you an opportunity to bet, and you bluffed. You didn't have no boat. But the point is that he kept ribbing me because he kept saying he had the boat. And I'm like, all right, I should have raised you, but... You were having a rough night already, My problem
you're gonna actually
I'll lose my killer instinct when I don't want to just
I don't care.
I don't want to if Rafe is stuck for a couple $1,000s, I don't want to rip him for another $2,000. I lose that.
Right.
I want to win the pots. Don't get me wrong, but there's a point in me where the black mamba step on your throat when you're down. We're up 20. We're gonna be up 40.
Yeah.
That goes away when I become friends with people, and I say I'd rather play with strangers in a casino because then I don't care. I'm walking out. And I don't care. I'll take it all. It's fine.
Hang on a second, Matt. Just go another half hour. Reset for another half. He's giving me a signal that we're at half hour. Because I didn't know where this was going to go.
It's an hour already?
No, it's a half hour.
Oh, okay.
Half hour. I separate the two. So if I'm at the poker table, I don't give a shit if you're my best friend. I'm fucking taking your money. I'm just taking your money. I don't care what group I'm in. But then, if we go out to lunch or dinner or anything.
2 hours later, we go out for beer and dinner. It is.
It's different.
It's the same as hockey or basketball. Yeah. I'm going to throw elbows at you.
Yes.
I'm going to push you out of the way.
Yeah, but you're telling me it's different though. You're telling me that in a group you're feeling bad for people. And we certainly know, Promo, for example, and Promo, I know he's going to watch this, and he is too invested in the relationship part versus the game part.
Right.
He'll check it down with somebody when he's got the fucking nuts. I'm like, bro,
why are you playing?
Why the
Like, there's a
fuck
point
are
where
you
why
playing in this game?
Right. There's a point where why are you playing if that's the case.
I mean, you know he does that a lot.
No, yeah, he does. And some people, hey, listen, for me, it's a networking thing too. I've gotten a lot of business out of poker.
I think we all have.
I've met, a lot of people that have referred friends to me that don't even play poker.
Right.
I've gotten business from people that I play poker with. I go to a new game, I pick up 2 clients the other day on a brand new game just because they knew what I did.
Sure.
So it's a networking thing where you meet a lot of people. I like doing the socialization. There's a point where it's a sport like anything else. You want to win, but there's a point where you don't want to. Once they become friends, you're not like looking to like take the house.
Yeah.
I want to take the house when I don't know you.
Yeah.
I don't care. Sign over the pig slips. Let's go.
Yeah.
When you become friends, I still want to win, and the game we play is not so small anymore.
No.
So our game has gotten to the point where it's a pretty decent sized game.
We used to play a 1-2 $300 buy-in.
Yeah.
And,
now nobody respects that money. So you got to.
Well, now we're playing. Sometimes we play. There are games that we're playing that are 5-10.
Yeah.
I mean, I played on stream where it was uncapped, and
it's crazy.
In fact, this coming week, as you know, 4 of us are going down to the lodge on the live stream.
Right.
That's going to be a big game for us. I mean, I'd be interested to see what happens.
So at that game, your boys that you're going down with, like if I stack you for $20,000, I stack you for $20,000, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
we're all playing poker, right?
Yeah.
So they know that going in,
and quite frankly,
that's why promo's at a disadvantage of that game. I don't think. I think he should be playing his game and like bet when he's gonna bet. You don't want to be the disadvantage in a game that big.
It's definitely going to be a big game. I'm excited, but I'm also it's a lot of money that I'm bringing down there.
So who's going? You, promo,
me, promo, Rollo, White Kevin, and we're going to be in 2 different formats. So it's going to be a.
Oh, so you won't all be together at the same table? It'll be 2.
No, all the same table on the live stream. 2 different days. One day is going to be just a regular 5-10 3K cap.
Okay.
And then I think the second day, I don't know if it's the first or second day, we're going to do like a team format where it's really same thing. Where we're playing just a regular no limit 5-10 Texas Hold'em 3K cap, but the New York guys, the SociallyWild guys, are going to be playing against the Texas guys in a prop bet at the end of the night. Who has more chips? Like as a team.
Okay.
But we could take, like, if you're on my team, I could take your chips. It doesn't lessen our teams because I'm taking.
Right. But that's still your winnings. That's still your winnings.
Still my winnings.
So if you felt that all 3 of your own players, you got all the chips still. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. But the cool thing is, we get as a team, we each get a timeout to go discuss a hand outside the room, which is going to be really cool to.
So you have 4 timeouts.
4 timeouts.
So you're in the middle of the hand. You could call timeout.
If we're heads up. In a bad situation, like if I'm heads up,
your heads up, you could pull a timeout and consult with your team with 3.
Yeah. And they could say, I had Jack, whatever.
Oh, literally?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's a pretty cool dynamic that the lodge is pulling out. I love it. We may at some point.
Well, you got 2 luck boxes with Rollo and White Kevin, so that's a good run.
Well, that's true. That is true. So it'll be an interesting time down there. I just want to come back with some money. I don't even care if I come back with. Winnings. I just want to come back with something.
Come on, you're competitive. You want to win.
Yeah. So, a couple of things, and I have so many things to talk to you about. Maybe we'll have a second podcast. But tell me about it. So I forget what year it was, but there was a year that you had a really great run at the Borgata at the opening tournament that they had. It
was the Winter Open.
Right? It was the Winter Open?
2000.
I want to say like 18, 19.
Yeah, I think it was 19.
And so you made it.
I hadn't played for like 4 years.
Yeah, walk me through that.
So my kids were in college, and we had made a deal that they wouldn't go to college and drink, and I would not play poker. So I think I lost that bet, actually. I think they were still drinking, and I wasn't playing poker. So I think I held up my end of the bargain, but like literally for like 4 years, I didn't go to any casinos. I didn't play any, and I was going to tournaments. And then I realized I was like, you know what? Everybody's doing what they're doing. I'm going back to playing tournaments.
Yeah.
And I was a little rusty, I think, at that particular point in time. Like, I hadn't played a tournament in a while, and I wound up playing heads up against a kid that was literally on tour for 5 years.
Let's back up. How big was this? Is a big field that you made it
I was
through.
like, I want to say it was like
Couple thousand,
4,000.
yeah, like
It was like
4,000.
4,000 at that
So
time.
4,000, and you make
Maybe
it to
2,800. Maybe
you
it was
make it
2,800. It
to
was somewhere in the high numbers. It
the
was,
final two. You make it. You're
final
going for it
two.
all.
Yeah.
And what was the first place prize?
We made a deal to play.
Well, no, not the deal. What was the first
I
place
think
prize?
it was like I think first place was supposed to be like 200, and second place was like a $130 or something like that.
Okay.
So let me think about that. So 180 and 150. So it was like 230. There was 330 in the pot. So at the end of the day, the way the numbers broke down was we decided to both accept 150,000, and then what we did was the winner, the winner got 30,000 plus the trophy. So the winner wound up with 180,000.
Okay.
So that was the deal we made prior to settling the heads up.
Right.
So that's that, and the casino approved it. We had to tell them ahead of time.
So you walked away with how much?
150.
150,000. I'll never forget this. I remember you were so excited, and you were texting everybody in the group
Everybody
chat.
was texting me. I couldn't even keep up. I kept my phone off the whole tournament, and then when I turned it on, it was just literally blowing up. Right.
So I remember you sending me a picture. And this is insanity, by the way. So there's different ways you could take the prize, right?
Yeah.
Something $150,000.
Yep.
155 or 150?
150.
So $150,000 you took all in cash.
I did, and put it in a leather bag and drove home.
And I never will forget this, but I have a picture of you in your trunk. And what was the one thing I asked you? Do you remember?
The one thing you asked me? Oh, I think you said, what happens if you drive home, get in an accident,
Yes.
it goes on fire? I was like, then I'm out 150,000.
Yeah, like any normal human being would have just been like, okay, I'm gonna give me 10 grand or give me 9,000, and then whatever it is, give me some money and then wire
And I'll
me
take
the
a check,
rest.
right?
Or a
wire
check.
me, right? Yeah.
But no, you took the whole thing in cash.
No, yeah, I took the whole thing in cash and figured.
And without a doubt, that was your biggest win, correct?
Oh yeah, it's my biggest win.
So now you played out, or you just chopped then and said because you're
No, we played.
You did
we
play
played till the winner, and ultimately.
Do you remember the hand that you lost?
Yeah, I remember the hand I lost because I was so upset that I was still so rusty that the one hand I almost called him with ace high I was good on, and the kid said to me just prior to that hand, he's like, I would never show my cards to somebody like you.
Right.
He said, but there was a hand where he limped. I'll never forget this hand because it haunts me till today. He limps. I have ace six. Now, heads up, anybody will tell you an ace, you're supposed to be raising.
Yeah.
But I decided to be a little trappy, and said, I'll make my play on the flop. And the flop came out like jack, blank.
Okay.
And he didn't raise pre-flop either. Okay? So he was being a little tricky. And I let out and bet. So I was like, 70% of the time, he's missing the flop. He's going to fold. And he smooth calls me. The turn comes a 10. And he checks. And I bet.
Okay.
Just with blank A6. And he goes, I'm all in. Now I'm playing with this kid, mind you, for numerous hours. And my initial read was, if he turned 10 jack, there's no way in hell he was going all in.
Oh.
No, he was going to min raise. He was going to call me.
Right.
He's never jamming.
Right.
And this is my biggest regret. Because
you should have called
the
him.
one thing I do, whether people like to think it or not, my ranges are usually good within 3, but I pick up on people's tells pretty well.
Okay.
Especially strangers' tells, because there was a book I read a long time ago, and it's usually...
Can you shut your phone off?
Yeah, I'm a tech guy.
What
you
is
think
that?
I could shut that off? It's a different ring for a different line.
Jesus Christ. By the way, my next podcast, I got to remind the guest to shut their fucking phone off.
Yes, that's a good idea. I should have done that. I look at the kid, and
hold on a second. Let's let this thing ring.
He gets a micro expression on his face, and I instantly knew when I said what I said, and I had said it purposely. It was the only time in the entire tournament that I didn't go with my gut instinct. And I remember Howard Lederer's words, once you learn to go with those instincts and stop second guessing them,
Yeah.
it's all your years accumulated that are telling you what to do. Don't second guess it. It was the first time I second guessed it. And I looked at him and I said, I know what you have. And he just looked at me. I said, you floated me with overs, king, queen. You just turned an open-ended straight.
And you fold.
And I have ace high, one of your outs. I said, I think I might make this crazy call. There's like 150 people watching us now.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I might make this call with ace high. I said, this is crazy. Had I made that call,
You would have.
he could have won. He could have hit anything, king, queen. Could have hit it straight. But I was definitely ahead. And the guy turns around and I mucked. And he goes, and he just looks at me and he goes,
holy shit.
He goes, I just have crazy respect for you. That's the only reason I'm doing this. He goes, I've been playing poker a long time. That read was insane. He goes, and this is why I'm showing it to you. Because just out of respect, he said, king, queen. How did you know that?
That's crazy.
And I said, that's going to haunt me. And he now had an equal chip stack or a little bit more than me.
Right.
And then he did what I should have been doing. Once he got up, because the blinds are so big at this point.
Pounding you.
He just started re-raising big.
Right.
Re-raising big every hand.
So at what point did you say?
So I slam in ace 9.
Yeah.
And he turns up with pocket 9s. The worst possible hand I could see. And the pair of 9s held up.
Right, but this is after you decided to chop it?
Yeah, this is way after. Yeah, we already had that. We already had that worked up.
So you're like a little loosey-goosey now that you know that you have 150
and then I tighten up a little bit, and I'm like going, I should have made that call. And if I made
I'm surprised you didn't.
No, but if I made that call and I lost, I'd still be okay with it because I got it in good.
Yeah.
And I knew I was ahead.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't pull the. I was like, you know what was going on in the back of my mind? A little devil in my head said, you got all these people watching.
You don't want to.
They're gonna write. This guy called with ace high after he raised the flop with air. He called with ace high, and that's how the dummy lost the tournament.
That's really what you were.
But
it could have been the opposite.
If I said I could have made that
great
call, and it could have went down in history as that was the sickest play ever. Yeah. He raises air, calls with ace high, and wins.
Yeah.
That was the opposite story that I wasn't thinking about.
Yeah, that would have been. It's
hard to call with air.
So what did he go home with? 100.
He took it 180, and I took 150. So 30,000 more. Awesome. And he got the trophy, and he got the accolades of winning.
And that was good for our group because the next
year... Yes, then I lost it all.
The next year,
so there were no taxes to worry about, right? So that was great.
You basically gave that money away to all of us. And we greatly appreciate that. Yeah. But I will say...
That's not really true, guys. But
it's pretty true. You didn't have a great... Hold on a second. I want to know what the year after. Did you have a positive
2 years after. The 1 year after I lost.
Okay.
And then the year after that... broke even, and then the last year I lost. Yeah.
So I will say this though: the past 6 months, ever since you started wearing those glasses.
Yes, they're magic glasses.
And
my eyes gave away its hell.
The interesting
somebody
part
told
is
me
I changed my decks just in case people mark the cards or something like
seriously?
that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you recently, and I didn't do this because of you, but I'm just saying, just in general, just to keep the sanctity of the game so nobody thinks there's any cheating or anything nefarious going on. I do everything. When I live stream, obviously, the guys in the back room can't see the cards, etc. You know how strict I am about that. But I will say, ever since you started wearing those glasses, you've been playing differently. And believe it or not, you have been, or at least I feel like you. I haven't seen your chart. But I feel like you've been winning more. Mm-hmm. Have you been playing better?
Yeah, but I don't always play with the glasses. But
no, but have you been? Have you been playing? Like, do you feel like you changed?
I've definitely been playing different.
Have you been?
I'm not tilting as much.
I don't know about that.
I'm not tilting as much. That's for sure.
You don't think so?
That's the real difference. No,
well, you don't tilt as much because
you're winning.
You're winning.
Yeah. But there's a secret to winning, right? When you're winning, you
don't
have to tilt.
What's your secret?
Huh?
What's your secret?
With bad players.
Oh, that's actually. I know you're joking, but that's actually not
it's actually, I used to joke with Rollo about that, saying you can only beat up on bad players. Yeah. And somebody said to me, "What's wrong with that?"
Well, I mean,
do you want to sit at a table with a bunch of Rollos all night?
I was going to say, Negreanu said you could be the 7th best player in the world, but if you have the 6th,
the first six,
and you're playing with him, you're the worst fucking player.
You're the worst player at the table.
So I love that quote that he I was watching one of his podcasts.
No, I think your eyes. I think for me. I think for anybody that's beyond the bet size telling, anybody that goes beyond that and gets into body language, I think the eyes give away a lot of information. I think that's why some of the poker players that were studying the GTO and all these younger guys started wearing glasses, and people hated it. I think the eyes give a lot away.
So is that why you wearing the glasses?
You'll see guys with their eyes pulsating. I get that sometimes.
Really?
And my eye will pulsate. And if you're a player that's astute and paying attention, you'll see that pulsating, and that'll either mean I have a monster or I'm bluffing.
Right.
And you could figure that out. It's still 50-50, but for some reason this guy's adrenaline's rushing. So he's either got a monster or not.
Right.
So by wearing the glasses, that's one tell that goes away for me. And also the eyes, they say eyes are windows to the soul.
Yeah.
I do believe that a lot of guys have figured out that the eyes give stuff away in the middle of the hand. So aside from
I definitely think, and we talked about it earlier, where playing with guys that you know very well, and you mentioned playing with these guys, you don't want to take their money. I actually have a different reason why I would perhaps maybe look to other groups to play or even go to a casino. First of all, I love playing in our group because it's such a great, comfortable, safe environment that we play in. That's number one.
We don't ever have money there. We don't got to worry about it, right? So it's great.
But the other thing the negative aspect, and it's also a positive, but the negative aspect is we all know how each other plays. I know your tells, you know my tells. I don't even know my tells.
It's funny you say that because
I know exactly when Rafer's bluffing. We all do. We almost all do.
Tendencies. And then we're shocked that the guy called our bluff.
Yeah.
No, he's been playing with me for 20 years. Yeah. Of course he knows my bluff, but that's what got everybody watching these guys playing high stakes or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the part that they always left out when they're playing their 8-4 suiteds, right? They know each other because they're playing every week together. This one's being televised. So you think you're playing like these guys, or you're saying this guy's playing like an idiot. That's because they know each other's tells. How could he make that call? There's something he knows about that guy that we don't.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't recommend anybody playing 8-4. But, it does happen.
Remember that when you play
next time. Absolutely. So, by the way, you bring up a good point. We live stream, and I don't think anybody's really getting any information. Perhaps Schultz. I know Schultz watches the stream to get information on us, and Rollo does. I'm not sophisticated enough to look at a stream and get tells. I actually get a lot of tells. Like I made a really big. I'm gonna fucking kill you.
That. How's that?
Jesus.
I'm gonna jump off camera for a second, and I'm gonna shut that down. How's that? I think that's a good idea. How can I get so many calls? I'm a popular guy, I think.
Apologize. This is our first podcast, so.
But, where?
Just be careful of the mic.
Well, you got to do like 2 hours worth of recording to get like a half hour. So.
No, we're gonna. This is gonna be. I'm gonna do a little post production, but. I get a lot of. I love playing with our group, but I mean, really, the live tells is just bananas in our group. I mean, I recently made a call against Kid Mike, and if I was in a casino, I don't think I'd ever make that call. I had basically, bottom pair. I think I had sevens, and I just by the pattern that he bet and some other things that I'm not going to go into.
Right, sure.
I don't want to give my secrets up on the players that I play with, but it was a $300 bet on the river, and I called him, and it was kind of like, how the fuck do you make that call? And it was only because of the live tells. If that was in a casino, I'm never making that call. But I want to go to the live stream. It's when I first started doing this, and that's a whole other podcast that we'll get into on how it started and why I did this, and the status of where we're at and all that stuff. But you're one of the reasons why you're the first person I'm doing this podcast with is because out of everybody, you are the most dynamic player that we have on the stream, and you're the biggest character. Your name is Loud George. But with that comes, you got a lot of people supporting you. When I did a poll on who do you want to be on the first podcast, you were overwhelmingly the number one person that everybody wanted to see on the podcast.
That's hilarious.
So why do you think Why do you think you are so popular on the podcast? Not on the podcast, on the stream. Why do you think you're so popular on the stream?
I think that, like, you were
Why
saying.
why do people love to hate you?
No, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
You either love the character and you embrace it, or you're just like, felt that guy because I can't stand his obnoxiousness.
Yeah.
So I think when you play both sides of that, the personality that comes out at the table is a love or hate. Right. So half the people hate you and half the people love you. So that winds up being a lot of people talking about you. And there's an old thing in marketing that says no publicity, no such thing as bad publicity, right? So I just think that when I speak the truth about how bad somebody plays.
Do you really believe that, by the way?
Huh?
Because there's a lot of times that you make some horrible plays and suck out on somebody.
It's been rubbing off because I've been playing with bad players for so long that I start doing what they're doing. See, you gotta like get that in control, right? You can't do that. You know, one of the players in our game said, that's not a winning formula, doing what they do. And I said, yeah, but you just so want to get them back the same way they got you,
So do you play better when you're coming from behind, like when you're down?
I think so. A perfect example, last night, I get felted the first, round.
I saw that.
Okay, so I get felted the first round.
So just so everyone knows, we're in a huge group chat, and whenever somebody completely demolishes somebody else, somebody usually records it on a cell phone
and sends it to the group.
And so I saw that last night.
But it's funny, that same guy that sent it to the group didn't send when I jammed in top boat on the turn and he went all in with a straight drawing dead to no low.
Right.
And literally shipped me all his chips. So he walked out losing that night and I walked out up that night. So he left that off the stream and didn't send that video.
That person's Matt Adams.
Yes, that would be Matt Adams.
Okay.
So, yeah, he leaves out the part where I jam in jacks full of sevens, and he calls me with 7, 8, 9, 10 jack.
Yeah.
Because there's no way I had that hand when he had a jack in his hand.
Yeah.
So donkeys do what donkeys do. So
we're coming to the end. And by the way, I could talk for we'll do this again because there's so many other things that I want to talk about. We can go into a future podcast. What I want to really do is maybe have on our monitor, put up some hands and kind of analyze some things. But I really wanted to kind of get to know the person. If there's a lot of people that troll you out there.
Sure.
Which is great. I mean, it's great for the stream.
Yeah, Joe Dubs. All right, you got a shout out. You got a shout out. There it is.
Joe Dubs is a perfect example. Like, they love to fucking hate you. And which is great. I mean, it's a great, you're the villain.
Listen,
you're the villain.
The greatest part is, especially when I'm going to a new table or something, I'll know if the table I want to, there's a fine line. Now you got to remember, you put a target on your back and that's because you're aiming at the bad player at the table.
Yeah.
Right? The ultimate fish. And you're trying to get him to do things. And sometimes if you cross, it's a fine line.
Yeah.
So if you cross the line, then all of a sudden everybody wants a piece of you. And when everybody wants a piece of you, that could be a bad thing. So now everybody's coming at you with 8-4, 7-3,
yeah, that could
9-2.
be good.
So you don't have fold equity at all anymore. So there's a fine line when you're playing at like a new table, for example. There's books on tells in poker. Obviously, everybody knows this.
And have you been studying them?
And a long time ago. There's also something called NLP. We could talk about that in another set. Neuro-linguistic programming, which is something else I studied way earlier in my career. And I could go into talking about, and I don't want to give that one up, I don't think, actually. A couple of people know about it, but it's...
Do you really think our group is that smart that they're going to go fucking read a book?
Listen, there's Neuro-Linguistic Programming for Dummies, and you could read that book and pick up a lot.
I'm going to pick it up. I might need to.
I may even talk to you off camera a little bit about it, since I'm your only friend. But the book of tells, all that stuff, right? You would be shocked if you read any books of tells and then go to a casino and just play with a bunch of strangers, how often the same exact tell. Yeah. I'm going to give one up that some regular poker players know. If you're ever sitting at the poker table, and now you're going to pay attention to this because I'm telling you, if you're ever sitting, and that's why I go, oh shoot, I know who has a hand before they have a hand, before it's even up to them. If somebody's sitting at the poker table and all of a sudden they look at their cards, okay, and they go like this, and they get straight up, and they sit at their...
You've already told me this, by the way.
At their seat.
Yeah.
They're preparing for battle, as it's called, because they got a monster, or in their eyes, what's considered a monster. Some people, king, queen's a monster. To me, that's just a hand. But a lot of the times they'll have kings, aces, ace, king, ace, queen. They have a monster for what they consider in their poker realm a monster for that table they're at. So they sit up straight, they get erect, and they're preparing for battle. You watch, and every time you see that, by the time you get to showdown and see that card, you're like, holy crap, he had a monster.
Yeah.
He had a monster. Over 30, 35 years of playing poker, every time somebody does that, they have a monster.
Interesting.
There are other ones, but that's one that a lot of people do know, but that's little things that you pick up on strangers that they don't know as casual players.
So, and then I'm going to go to some rapid fire questions before we end. But if there's one thing that you want to tell the fans out there, like who you are as a person, or if there's something you want to tell the fans, like what would you tell them about yourself?
I think I could sum it up really quickly.
I'm just speaking to the microphone.
Really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Most people,
like, because you're misunderstood.
Most people that start playing poker with me at the poker table, I would say the first few months, they hate my guts. They think I'm an idiot. I'm stupid, obnoxious.
Kind of like you and Rollo. Remember the first?
Oh, me and Rollo. Yeah, forget it. We always went out.
You almost literally went.
But I say to know me is to love me, because everybody always says you got to get to know the guy. But
which is true.
Which when you get to know me, that's off the poker table.
Yeah.
So the people that only see me playing poker or whatever that are on a stream.
Yeah.
That obnoxiousness probably could come through. They'll see me berate somebody. To know me is to love me. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, like you said, we become friends and we all play. But I think that's the, you know, I don't have to be loved by everybody. I'm fine with being the villain too. But,
all right, so I have some questions here.
and also, you can go to Amazon and get my new book, AI for the Everyday Person, on sale, coming out.
All right. So, a couple of things I wanted to talk about.
For all these notes.
Yeah, and I didn't even have to go to them because it was really just such a natural conversation. But who do you think the best player is in our game?
Me.
Besides you?
Oh, besides me?
Yeah. And we have a lot of people.
By the way, I got to toss off.
For the community out there, we have a lot of people that are not willing to play on stream, that do play in our community, in our group. I'm not going to even mention their names, but there's a ton of people that don't play on the Sunday or the Wednesday. Correct. We do play.
You got to realize our poker group, is like 100 people.
Yeah.
And on the regular, I'd say we have 50 or 60 rotations.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is huge. But who do I think?
Yeah. Who do you think?
I have two guys that are like probably neck and neck.
Who?
Rollo and Schultz.
Okay. Which Schultz?
Brendan.
Okay. And you think they're in the same class?
I think they're in a similar class.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're in a similar
class. So I think Brendan is way beyond any comprehension. And by the way, we're talking about cash because tournaments are a completely different game.
And I could have this conversation for 3 hours. There's a certain level of, like, for example, Phil Hellmuth. Some people hate him. Some people love his antics, right? But Phil Hellmuth is not a GTO player. He's a friggin' field player.
None of us, by the way, including Rollo, are GTO.
Yeah, I know. But
because you can't play GTO in our game.
Guys like Schultz, guys like Schultz's brother, guys like Geico.
Yeah.
These guys think they know
Geico's definitely not GTO.
No, they think they know GTO. They know
know it.
They know the numbers, but it doesn't apply to our group.
No.
Because
you can't fucking play GTO.
You can't play that here.
No.
You gotta more know the tendencies of your players.
Yeah.
And I love Garrett. He knows that. But if I was going to critique him, for example, he goes and he says, "Well, 1 out of 5 times I gotta be right to be this. I gotta make that call and ship a guy $1,500."
He will play GTO,
no, dude,
but it doesn't necessarily apply all the time.
If Jaimo goes all in on the river, he has the nuts. Yeah. Your GTO and your math mean absolutely zero in this situation because he only has the nuts.
Yeah.
So when you make those, you're losing the biggest aspect to me in poker. Poker is less about math,
right?
And some people won't.
So you're more of a feel player.
It's more about human behavior.
Yeah.
Now you got to know guys are capable of bluffing. You got to know their ranges of bluffing, what they will and won't do. That's why you got to sometimes check the nuts.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to bet the nuts if they won't fold anyway. So, and sometimes you got to mix it up. You got to keep them on their toes. I like to think I don't do the same thing with the same type of hand 100% of the time.
I can't believe you folded to me.
Listen, I folded that hand because I gave you.
You folded.
Listen, you raised. I gave you smooth call, and I said, you know what? Mark knows I got a hand here.
Yes,
betting
I did
out.
know you have a hand.
You knew I had a hand. Now, if I have the 10 jack, I'm snap calling with the nuts, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
And you're drawing dead, which is the only thing that said, is he that crazy? And I didn't give you.
I am that crazy.
Well, I know now. I know now that you want to give me your money. No, but listen, we all going to get away with a move like that every now and then because we got to respect each other's game from the point of we're playing so long. You know I got a monster here. What do you think I'm laying down? The only thing I'm laying down happens to be top and bottom pair here.
Sure.
Because even top two I'm losing to.
Yeah.
And you would be like, hey, if you flop the nuts, you flop the nuts. Right? Sometimes you got to do that in our game.
Hardest player. So we talked about the best player in our game. Who is the most difficult for you personally to play against?
The hardest player?
Yeah.
Hardest player is somebody that doesn't even know what the hell they got.
No, but give me a name.
I'm saying. If they don't know what the hell they have,
so give me a
how do
name.
you play against that player?
Who?
I don't know if I want to
we have a ton of guys that are like very confused.
Very good.
I'll say
Stolio makes it difficult to play against.
Okay, so Stolio
I'll be
for you
honest,
is difficult.
Stolio makes
By the way,
it difficult
Stolio is difficult to play against, period.
Because he doesn't even know what he has half the time. Or he thinks he overvalues a hand where I'm sitting here going, hey, you know what? We're playing a double board bomb hot.
Right.
Stolio sees aces in his hand, and he thinks that's good.
Yeah.
How do I play against a guy betting 500 into a double board with like middle set or top set when he doesn't realize he's already crushed by the other 5 people at the other end of the table? Right. So that makes it difficult to play against a guy like that, which, you know.
Easiest player to play against.
Easiest player to play against?
Yep.
That's a tough one because when you pick up on everybody's tells.
Going close to the mic.
My buddy Paulie Nutflush, he only plays the nuts, right?
Yeah,
so that's gotta be
Paulie
one of the
doesn't play
easiest.
on stream, by the way.
And then he doesn't play on the stream. And then our other friend Bruce was voted.
So I don't think Bruce is so easy to play
Most
against.
predictable.
I mean, he's very predictable, but yeah.
So I mean, and Hymo doesn't really play. If we were talking about like
our streaming group,
I don't think anybody's easiest to play against in the sense that we all have been playing together for so long.
Right.
I think on any given hand, any one of us can make a move and get away with it. You know. And I think it's all about picking spots and timing. I don't think there's an easiest because of how long we've been playing together.
Okay, let's go not rapid fire, but try and make them quick answers. Hold'em, Omaha, or 5 card.
And
what do you like?
Favorites?
What do you like better? Yeah.
Probably Hold'em first because
You think you have an edge?
In our group, I don't think anybody has a real advantage anymore.
Right.
I think when I go to casino, I definitely have an advantage more in Hold'em. Okay. Because if I go to the casino and then play PLO, I'm just playing like a nit and just picking off the fish. Right. So I think you make more money in a casino and PLO because most people are clueless and they overvalue hands. So I think PLO is a better moneymaker in a casino.
Interesting.
I think no limit Hold'em is easier to figure out, especially with today's tools and everything.
Right.
So I think you get more educated people on Hold'em. I think PLO is harder to get educated on because they don't understand the extra hands that you can be up against.
Okay.
So and then 5 card last because I think 5 card helps the gamblers. I think it helps them even out the playing field with runouts and things.
Okay. All right. So again, rapid fire. Do you think there was 1 or 2 shooters for JFK?
I think there may have been 2 or more shooters for JFK.
Okay. Do you think it was?
It was 100% the CIA.
You think it was 100% the CIA?
And they were not on their own.
Okay.
CIA with the mob as a team effort.
Okay.
And his vice president was definitely involved. George Bush Sr. was definitely involved.
Okay.
100%. Matter of fact, if you see the videos of George Bush Sr. standing against the wall with his foot up against the back of the wall while the president's being killed like he's cool as a cucumber.
Okay.
You got to be asking yourself.
This is, by the way, this is why we love you.
This is the head of the CIA.
This is the
you got to see the video, but you
okay.
got to see the video of during the shooting.
We're going to have separate
George
podcasts
Bush.
on all of this.
You got to see the video. Like, how could you not be
Matt's giving me the fucking red light and all that shit.
How could you be? Yeah. How could you be like just calm as a cucumber?
What the fuck is going on here?
Not
all right.
at all.
All right, JFK. This is a big one.
Okay.
This is a big one.
All right.
I'm going to even wait until
right,
this
go ahead.
fucking phone dies down.
No.
COVID vaccine.
What about it?
Give me a quick...
We've been lied to, and if you don't believe we've been lied to, you're absolutely insane. About its not only its safety, but the ability to do what they said it did. None of it.
So you don't think it did anything?
Clearly, they've proven it's done nothing.
By the way, I don't disagree. And believe it or not, especially after watching the Joe Rogan and Ian Carroll, it does make sense. Like, I wouldn't necessarily agree that. I would agree that the pharmaceutical companies are making gobs and gobs of money, and
there are people in our group that say, "Oh, the amount of money they make on vaccines is irrelevant to their bottom line."
No, I don't.
Never.
I don't agree.
Never. That's a full statement, and that's our in-house mathematician.
9/11 conspiracy or
9/11?
Yeah.
All you have to know about 9/11 is the one thing that will force you to say if this is true, which it is. It's documented on Israeli TV. Okay, there were Israeli soldiers that were videotaping the entire 9/11.
So you think
incident.
Israel?
No, wait.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna tell you what happened. 9/11.
You're gonna get love for this.
I'm
this
gonna get love. 9/11. They had
Yeah.
these Israeli soldiers that videotaped it. They were called on when they literally took these guys into custody.
Yeah.
The camera that they used was no longer with them. There was an hour between them leaving the site.
Okay.
And the cops grabbing them. Okay. They had them in custody. I don't even think it was for 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
There was a call in. They were put on a plane, sent back to Israel.
Okay.
2, 3 days, whatever went by. In Israel, they're on Israeli TV, being interviewed by a news reporter. And the guy goes, "We were sent there to record the incident that was going to take place." He literally says this on live TV.
Do you have a copy of it?
It was on the internet. I don't even know if you can still find it anymore.
Okay.
It was literally on the internet, but it's documented. Yeah, you do enough Google searching, you'll find it.
All right.
So he was sent there. Now, how are you sent there to record something that nobody knew was going to happen?
This is a whole other podcast.
But first of all,
Yeah.
and secondly, okay,
Yeah.
more importantly, why is what you're going to ask me, and it's real simple.
Yeah.
Israel needed the U.S.
Support?
to go into Iraq.
Okay.
The reason they went into Iraq was because of 9/11. That was our justification to go in and do whatever the hell we had to do. We were the muscle for Israel in this particular case. As if you look historically,
So you think Israel
Israel's pulling the puppet strings.
perpetrated
Israel's pulling the puppet strings.
the 9/11.
The same way as what's going on in Gaza right now. Israel allowed October 7th to take place.
I'm gonna call bullshit on this one.
Okay, wait. Let me just.
Yeah.
I'll put all the strings together, and then you can call bullshit all you want.
Okay.
Israel is either the most inept military in the world. You don't believe that, though, right?
No.
Okay. Or they were complicit in the attacks, because there's no way you allow people to get slaughtered for 7.5 hours if you don't have an agenda.
Okay.
Now, what's their agenda? Why would they let that happen? 1950s, Ben Gurion.
I literally cannot believe this is actually.
Ben Gurion says he's going to build a canal to rival the other canal that like 80% of world trade goes through, the Suez Canal.
Yeah.
We're going to rival that, and we're going to make money too. Well, if Netanyahu just went into Gaza and started killing people, they'd be like, yo, he's Hitler. He needed his 9/11. That was his justification to go in there and do what he had to do to take over the waterfront land that they're going to build the Ben Gurion Canal on.
Okay, God bless you. I don't want to go any
There's
further
tons of
with that
proof
one.
of it.
Okay, so you think Israel was the one that perpetrated 9/11? Or
With the United States in cahoots.
in cahoots? So
Yeah,
not,
well,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, these guys are going to love you on that one. Okay. The moon landing, did it happen?
After seeing the recent movie,
Yeah.
I'm torn on that one. I'm torn.
So if you
I'd
had
like to believe that we. I'd like to
do you
believe
think
that we
we
did
landed on
do
the
it.
moon?
I'd like to believe that we did do it. I think at some point we got to the moon. It might not have been when they said we did.
do you think Big Pharma is keeping us all sick?
Oh yeah, you got to keep.
Do you think they have cures for cancer?
The whole vaccine from the time you're young, the whole formula is to keep a customer for life.
Okay. Again, trying to do rapid fire because there's so many conspiracy theories. Do you think the government's hiding UFOs?
There's definitely UFO. There's too many Army, Navy generals that have come out and said we have objects from unidentifiable sources. You want to call it UFO, UAPs. They already confirmed in government documents that we do have this. Matter of fact, just recently, there were arguments.
Matter of fact.
Why haven't we released this to the public? Why haven't we had funding to like fully explore this and let the people know what's going on?
Okay.
So,
trying to do quick fire questions here. 2020 election, fair or hoax?
Listen, I'm gonna always go down with that one as being stolen. So
stolen.
No doubt. In my mind, I don't care what anybody says about. There's enough information out there to say that.
All right, so stolen.
Definitely nefarious.
Climate change, real or bullshit?
Next podcast, I'll bring all the documents that talk about what a bunch of bullshit it is.
So you said the CIA was involved in the JFK assassination, no doubt. What about Martin Luther King? Was that CIA?
Definitely CIA.
Definitely CIA.
That's. I can't wait till it's released.
Okay.
He was a thorn in their side.
Who runs?
Which, by the way, Martin Luther King wasn't some great guy. Martin Luther King was a guy that literally wasn't. He literally.
Oh my God.
CIA tapes. Go to the CIA tapes. Listen to me. Martin Luther King literally walked out of a room while one of his guys raped a girl and didn't do nothing about it.
Oh my God.
And that's on CIA tapes. This is documented.
God.
It's on CIA tapes,
right,
bro. I'm
guys,
not making this up.
I'm just letting you know.
It's on CIA release
this is
tapes.
not the views of our guests are not the views of Socially Wild.
You don't know that story?
I don't give a fuck. What's really
that's not some great guy to me. That cannot report that or let that happen.
Oh my God.
That's on. You know why? You know why people know that?
This is why we love you.
Because the CIA was taping everything Martin Luther King did. How do you not know this? How do people not know this?
This is fucking amazing. Okay,
it's true.
Are they hiding aliens?
Area 51. They got probably UFO material and things that were gathered over time.
And last and final of the conspiracies. Who's running the world? Is it politicians, or you think it's like a secret elite?
Well, they just came out with the fact that they were using the word NGOs, right?
Yes.
Non-governmental organizations getting all this funding to produce agendas.
Okay.
So you got to worry about who's putting those agendas out. The WEF, for those people that don't know what the hell that is, that's called the World Economic Forum. They're the ones that are setting the worldly agenda with the WHO in cahoots with them. Yeah. And then you got the NIH, and they all have an agenda to push out. But the WEF is the one that really puts the agenda out for a one world government.
Okay.
And the WEF is the one that pushes the one world government. And if you watch their crazy crap, they're telling you on their website what their agenda is.
Yeah.
The same way, before COVID, they had a meeting in New York City that was documented with Johns Hopkins University and Bill Gates. They told you what they were going to do. Only during that meeting, they didn't call it COVID. They said a mysterious virus from pigs. All right, just change it to bats. Whatever.
All right. So. Well, listen, I'm going to end with this, just circling back to poker real quick. What advice would you give to somebody who's like young college kids just getting into poker? And by the way, there's so many topics we didn't touch on.
Don't do it.
We didn't touch on.
Stop playing now. Find another hobby.
All right, so
I think it consumes too much of your life. Honestly, at the end of the day,
we're
all somewhat. I mean, listen. Let's face it. We live on Long Island. We're all somewhat successful human beings. We're probably in the top 5% of world earners, right? And when you look at your poker stats for the amount of money, look, if it was about making money only. Like we socialize, right?
Yeah.
If it was about making money only,
so why would you discourage? Why would you?
I would have worked at McDonald's. So because it takes away from if you're young, it's going to take away from your family life. You know, if you can't do it on the regular, you're going to get left behind.
Right. And we didn't even talk about that.
Poker is either a super young man's game or an older man's game when the kids are out of the house. So if you're going to take it on as a young guy, a lot of the successful young guys, if you don't see them on the circuit anymore, they got families, businesses. It's because poker requires time if you want to be successful at it. And you don't have that time when you're raising a family. So if you're going to get to the point where you're raising a family, having a wife and kids, it's not a good thing to do. Unfortunately, I didn't have that as a
So if your
wisdom when
son
I was young.
or grandson wanted to get into the game, you would discourage them from
I would
getting?
discourage them.
Would you really?
I got two sons. Neither one play poker. nor do they
Yeah,
know how to play
that's
poker.
because I have one son that loves the game. Yeah, he's a little emotional about it, and we have to learn to control. But I think poker actually brings a lot of worldly attributes that you're going to need.
I think that worldly attributes, I think it teaches you not only discipline, where you want to call, but you're not getting the right odds. If you want to be a winner, you got to make that.
But also dealing with
dealing with life,
swing of emotions.
Swing of emotions. Yeah. But not only that,
so I don't think it's a bad thing.
Thinking, thinking outside the box sometimes, analyzing situations. You can definitely apply. Listen, I don't think there's a successful businessman out there that doesn't play poker.
Yeah.
Find me one. Like, all these guys play poker, And I always try and hint to my wife, see, he said he plays poker. See, he said he took that skill set into his life, right?
Yeah.
So there's positives out of it, but you got to be aware of the negatives. And I think that some people can't get away from the gambling aspect. So
yeah, I agree with that.
So I would think that you just have to be able to teeter on the line of watching the gambling aspect get to you.
Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for participating. This is really cool, actually.
By the time it gets edited
I actually was afraid that we were going to be like maybe 10 minutes talking. But the truth of the matter is there's so many topics that I could tackle right now.
Right, but if we're going to talk about a topic next time, let's talk about bringing in, like on Rogan, let's talk about bringing in some supporting facts.
No,
we're going to talk about sky spraying.
We should.
Let's talk about sky spraying, but not just talking about it. Let's say, why does somebody think like that? I think there are people in our group that are too quick to dismiss things without questioning. Yeah. And the fact that they make statements without ever having analyzed or researched or read an article on it, that they're so, to me, that comes across as being, some people are afraid of change. Some people don't want to know the truth. Maybe that's okay. I had one friend in this group, and I'm not going to name him, said, stop with the COVID. I did, and I've stopped. Stop posting the COVID stuff. I don't want to be feeling like I made a mistake and that I've put my health at risk. Yeah.
Well, and I said, we possibly could have.
And I respected that. I was like, you know what? We joke around about it, but there is a serious psychological impact.
So you were not vaxxed,
no,
correct?
Hell no. Yeah. Hell no. And I got that's another podcast, but hell no.
But listen, I really do think that there's so many topics that we could talk about. This was hopefully this actually
thank you for my hat.
This translates.
Playing with that tonight.
I hope this translates into a good podcast, and maybe we don't even have to edit it. But
maybe I'll get Daniel Negreanu to come in one day.
Oh, maybe. But I do appreciate you coming in. I know that you were the most wanted person on the podcast, so we got you, and I do appreciate it, and I wish you luck in your future games.
Same to you, except for when you're playing against me.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, Matt. Thanks.